Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It is Melissa Johnson speaking. I am the Principal Psychologist and the Director of Thriving Mind Psychology Clinic, located here on the Sunshine Coast. And I'm excuse me for a second, just checking the volume there. Excuse my big finger. Welcome to vlog number 9 of my 90-day vlog challenge. I am coming to you live from my office this evening. It's been a pretty big day. I've been here since 8 o'clock and I've seen quite a few clients today. And I'm still here because, of course, on a Monday evening, I offer some after hours appointments to my clients who can't get here during the day. So I've just finished up with my last client and I thought I would jump on live and do my vlog now before I head home. So this week, starting from yesterday, let me get the dates right, 8th to the 14th of October is Mental Health Week. So I thought for this week, I would really like to tackle some of the bigger or more commonly experienced topics, and that in particular being depression and the cycle of depression. But I also want to talk about some of the questions that people might have in terms of seeing a psychologist. So this week, I'm going to tackle some questions around what to expect on your first session. I'm going to talk to you about privacy and confidentiality and how that works in the therapy room. I'm also going to talk to you about how to access psychological services. And there's multiple referral streams. So I'm going to walk you through some of the many options that you can use to actually come along and see a psychologist. So that is what you can expect this week. But tonight I am talking to you about a little bit about depression. And I'm really just going to focus on some of the more commonly experienced symptoms that people or individuals with depression might experience. However, please do note this is not meant to be used as a diagnostic tool. In order to be diagnosed with depression, you need to meet a very specific criteria and you need to be diagnosed by either a psychologist or a GP or a mental health specialist. And it's quite a specific criteria that you need to meet. And it's more than what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So please do not use this as a diagnostic criteria or a way to diagnose yourself. It's just some information on the most commonly experienced symptoms that individuals with depression might experience, okay? And the reason why I'm talking about this is I was having a look at the Beyond Blue to have a look at some of the stats. And depression is one of the most commonly diagnosed mental health illnesses behind anxiety. And the stats from Beyond Blue say that 1 in 6 people will experience depression at some time in their life. And it also says that in any 1 year, over 1 million or approximately 1 million people will be suffering from depression, which is quite a lot. So I wanted to talk about these symptoms because sometimes we don't understand all the symptoms that occur with depression. And by understanding what's happening, it helps us to get a better perspective on what might be happening for us or for somebody else. Okay, so on the board behind me, you will see 4 different categories. And I did warn you that I like using the whiteboard. So the first area that occurs when someone might be experiencing depression is an impact on our mood. And this is one that we probably more commonly would know about. So most people are aware that when we are experiencing depression, we or somebody else might have a low, sad, down, sort of teary type of mood. Okay, so most of us understand or would know that, if we're feeling depressed, then it's probably going to have an impact on our mood. Now, of course, there's all days when we are having a low mood. That is completely normal. What we're talking about here is something that's quite persistent, that's persisting most days, almost every day, for more than 2 weeks, okay? So something that's quite persistent, low mood, and just feeling like you can't quite get out of that funk, really. So that is the first category. So it impacts our mood. The next line down, hopefully you can read, it says physical. So depression actually can have quite a big impact on our physical well-being. And what I mean by that is it can impact things like our sleep. So often people report either they're having trouble getting and staying to sleep, or it's the opposite. Then they're reporting that they're really tired and they're sleeping a lot. But either way, whether you're having trouble getting to sleep or staying asleep, or you're sleeping too much, Another really common experience that people report is they've got no energy. So regardless of their sleep, they're waking up in the morning still feeling tired and flat with no energy and no motivation. So they're the other big physical symptoms: no energy and no motivation. And again, this is quite persistently across days and weeks. And we all have no energy and motivation sometimes, and that's okay. The other areas that it can impact are things like our libido. So often people will report a lower sex drive. And it affects things like our memory and our concentration, which is a really important one to know about, because I often have clients come quite worried that something's wrong with their memory, because since they've noticed changes in their mood, they're having trouble remembering things, or even more importantly, staying on track with things. So they might, walk into a room and then forget what it was that they were doing. So that's another common one that might occur when someone is experiencing depression. So that is physical. Oh, and the other one, is appetite. I forgot about appetite. Often people report with depression that they experience changes in their appetite. So either they're wanting to eat too much or they're not eating enough. And of course, that means that we also then experience weight fluctuations. So we might notice people might be putting on weight or losing weight. So obviously everybody's very, very different. Everyone experiences depression differently. So these are just some common things that can happen with your physical well-being. The next one is thinking. So when we are a little bit more depressed and down, often what can happen is we put on our depressed glasses. And what that means is we're wearing these depressed glasses and they almost act like a filter for everything that we see and think about ourselves and the world around us, okay? So we're walking around with our depressed glasses on, and we're far more likely to think and notice all the more negative, unhelpful, terrible things that are about ourselves, but also in our environment and what's happening. So we're far more likely to notice someone that might have been rude to us, or we're far more likely to notice all the red lights that we got to work, on the way to work. We're far more likely to be more critical and harsher on ourselves. So we're wearing those depressed glasses and they're really acting as quite a filter. So that is thinking. And the last area there is our interaction. So what I mean by this is often when we're feeling depressed, we're feeling low and down and sad, and we don't have any energy and we don't have any motivation, we're not really enjoying anything anyway, often what happens is we stop going out and doing things and we start isolating, okay? So we stop engaging in our hobbies, we stop socializing and hanging out with our friends. Sometimes we even stop going to work. And we really neglect some of those normal interactions that we would do. Of course, what that means over time is the more and more we isolate ourselves and the less and less we're doing, it actually makes the depression worse and becomes quite a vicious cycle. So I hope that's been helpful. It's just a very brief overview of some things that you might experience, or a friend or a family member, a loved one might be experiencing if they are feeling depressed. Don't forget that all of us probably experience some of these symptoms, a fair often, and that's completely normal. It's okay to have troubles with your sleep. It's okay to occasionally have some of those things. But what we're talking about here is something quite persistent and long-term and happening almost every day, all day. So if you do have concerns that maybe you or someone else might be suffering from depression, please do reach out. Go and talk to your GP. Give your local psychologist a call. Reach out to someone who is going to be helpful. There are so many supports and so many interventions and services out there that can actually help improve some of this stuff. And I'll talk about that later on in the week. So I hope you found that helpful. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to talk about a little bit more around this vicious cycle of depression and how it can become, quite a negative cycle. And I'll also talk about behavioral activation, which is a strategy that we use in psychology to help people overcome some of these depressive symptoms and this depressive mood. And behavioral activation is actually really helpful for everyone, not just anyone that might be suffering from depression. And the reason for that is we all have times when we're feeling a bit low and down and have no energy. So motivational behavioral activation can be really helpful for that. So stay tuned for that. I will come to you live tomorrow, probably from the whiteboard again, to talk to you about that cycle of depression and behavioral activation. If you have enjoyed this vlog today, if you have found it helpful, please do like or love. And of course, if you know somebody who might benefit or might be interested, please feel free to share it. I do look forward to coming to you tomorrow, but until then, don't forget, as always, there's never been a better day than today to take the steps to have your thriving mind and your thriving life. Bye for now.